Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To Sir Ahmad Shah bin Pakeer Mohamed. So we are from Group 4. We'll present about the ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community. Our group member are Sharifah Nur Syuhada binti Tuan Muhammad Sukri, Nur Adlina binti Azmi, Nur Ashikin binti Muhammad Zahid, Nurul Nabiha binti Muhammad Nuri, Adam Haras bin Muhammad Asri, and Muhammad Muizzuddin bin Mahathir. ASEAN Social Cultural Community, ASCC, is one of the three pillars of Asian community. It is committed to lifting the quality of life of its people by putting their welfare and well-being at the heart of its activities. To promote better quality of life for the peoples and their communities in ASEAN, the member states cooperate on a wide range of areas such as culture and information, education, youth and sports, social welfare and development, women and gender, labour, civil service, rural development and poverty eradication, environment, disaster management and humanitarian assistance, health and communicable diseases, and science and technology. ASCC was initially created to improve all the states in ASEAN into a sustainable development country. ASCC has four elements, namely, to build a community caring for society that aims to overcome the problem of poverty, to build a competitive human resource base and adequate social protection system, to improve environmental sustainability and environmental governance, and to strengthen the basics of regional social cohesion to the ASEAN community. Furthermore, ASCC has the aim of contributing to achieving an ASEAN community oriented to the social responsibility of ASEAN civil society as a form of solidarity and unity between the people and ASEAN members countries. In addition, ASCC also aims to create an identity and build harmonization of the ASEAN community and improve the quality of employment in the Southeast ASEAN region.
Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I am Nurul Nabiha binti Muhammad Nuri. So today I am going to talk about what is the factor of formulation of ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community, or we could call it as ASCC. So the first one is big power. As we already know, in early 1990s, since early 1990s, ASEAN had been to the different big power, especially to the Asia Pacific power, which are United States, Japan, and China. And because of that, imbalance power had been happened, and it is very difficult for the ASEAN to make any decision or agreement in the meantime if it is relating to one of the big power. It is worse when when United States see China as the rival in economic term. As we can see, during Bush administration on second term, US foreign policy had been against the containment of China because of the influence of economic that China have in Southeast Asia. Based on research also, in Bangkok 2019, the citizen believe most of the decision of the ASEAN countries in terms of economic had been influenced by China. So because of that, ASEAN Social Cultural Community will balance and help to avoid the dispute between all these big powers. The second factor is economic gap. As we can see, among the members of ASEAN, there are certain states who had been suffering with poor and poverty. As example, we can see what's happening in Cambodia and Myanmar. It can be proven by looking at the difference of GDP between Singapore and Cambodia. One of the mission of ASEAN is to eradicate poor and poverty among the members, but it seems to be very difficult and quite impossible to achieve the mission due to the humanitarian crisis and climate and political reasoning. In addition, if any intrastate conflict or internal conflict that is happening among the state of ASEAN, another members of ASEAN could not interrupt due to the sovereignty issues. As example, we can see for Rohingya refugees issue, Myanmar government is deciding to do ethnic cleansing, and it is a breach of human right, but because of sovereignty issue, ASEAN members could not interrupt of their decision. Not only that, we can see how poor Cambodia is when there are still more children and kids could not get proper education. And because of that, ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community was formulated by ASEAN to improve the cooperative activity.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sharifana Syuhada binti Tuan Muhammad Sukri. Okay, predominant factor is geographical issue, which is ASEAN region become the most vulnerable region to disaster in the world. There's a lot of ASEAN country that has been faced a natural disaster such as earthquake, tsunami, flood and volcanic eruption. It happens due to the extreme climate change in this region. As we can see, Indonesia is one of the country that has facing a lot of natural disaster. For example, the tsunami and earthquake that happened in Sulawesi, Indonesia in September 2018 at 7.4 magnitude scale Richter, which the earthquake that happened has triggered to tsunami to happen at 3-meter height. This disaster has caused a lot of damage such as material losses amount 18.48 trillion and also causes 4,340 people death. ASEAN Community on Disaster Management (ACDM) oversees the work program implementation and report directly to the minister that responsible for disaster management. ASEAN country play very important role to give assistance to Indonesia that has facing a natural disaster to respective disaster management bodies. Okay. ASEAN also utilize a private sector and the government to gain access to new and creative climate change funding mechanism. It also can enhance regional structure and capability to the ASEAN so that the ASEAN can respond to the disaster both inside and outside the region. To ensure the coordination of action, including methodologies and resources to assess, record and calculate the disaster losses and damage. Tsunami detection buoys has been replacing in order to record the data and give early information on tsunami warning. Social and political integration. Social integration is a separated group combined into united group to protect the people's right and justice. For example, every year between 80,000 to 100,000 people are trafficked across foreign border into forced labor and slavery. Even though exact statistics are difficult to obtain, but there is a strong evidence that stated human trafficking of women and children is a several ASEAN country. ASEAN Social Cultural take an initiative to create a social safety net and protection from the negative impact of integration. In order to ensure all the ASEAN people has received a social welfare and protection from any negative impact of integration by increasing a quality of social protection. ASEAN Social Control also take an action to strengthen the ASEAN cooperation in protecting the female migrant worker. There's a lot of specific rights of migrant worker, such as migrant worker has their own right to access the information matter that related to the employment. They also have a rights to be issued in employment contract or proper documentation by relevant authorities. The migrant worker also has the right to get a fair treatment in the workplace. Migrant work ASEAN Social Cultural play an important role to ensure that all of the migrant worker get their rights as a migrant worker when they're working at the other country.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Adlina binti Azmi and I'm going to explain the parties involved. The first party involved is 2015 ASCC priorities. As mentioned before, ASCC focusing on human development, social welfare and protection, social justice and right, and so on. From this, there are many involvement from others include the general. The involvement can be seen by the adoption of ASEAN Community 2025 Vision and Attendance of Document. For ASEAN Community Vision 2025, it represents a major milestone in ASEAN regional integration agenda. For example, ASEAN 2025 Forging Ahead Together that held on 27th ASEAN Summit in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, is to celebrate the formal establishment of ASEAN Community 2015 and also to chart the direction of ASEAN Community Vision 2025. Next, for the attendance of document, which is known as 2035 Blueprints for the ASEAN Political Security Community (APSC), the ASEAN Economic Community (AEC), and also the ASEAN Socio-Cultural Community (ASCC). This document to chart the direction of ASEAN over the next 10 years, that focusing on strengthening ASEAN unity and consolidating and deepening the regional integration toward a political cohesive, economically integrated, and also socially responsible. The adoption of the ASEAN Instrument of the Protection and Promotion of the Rights of Migrant Workers during 12th ASEAN Summit held in Cebu, Philippines on 13 January 2007 shows the involvement of labor. The instrument includes the leaders directed their officials to develop effective mechanisms to safeguard the migrant workers. There is also a discussion paper follow up to the ASEAN Declaration on the Protection and Promotion of the Rights of Migrant Workers, a way forward to operationalizing the declaration, which identified 3 themes summarizing the commitments and obligations of the declaration. The 3 themes, including the protection of migrant workers against exploitation and discrimination and violence, the labor migration governance, and fights against trafficking in persons. Next, the Putrajaya Joint Declaration on ASEAN Post 2015 Priorities with the involvement of civil service that held on 17 November 2015 in Cyberjaya, Malaysia. The implementation of ACCSM work plan to promote the transparency, honesty, respect for human rights and gender equality among the ASEAN public servants who should be a leading agents and advocates the goals of ASCC. This is because civil service is the backbone of development in each ASEAN member state and regional cooperation. With their involvement, it can add value to other sectors of government, particularly in promotion of civil service competency, responsive civil service, ASEAN awareness in the public sector, and also the standard in the public sector.
Hi, Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Ashki binti Mohamed Zahid. I will continue to present the party involved, which is one of it is Philippine advocacies. The first one is migrant worker protection. Since 2006, the Philippines has more than 1 million workers who work overseas. The Philippines has established a policy that are directed toward assist them during their work at overseas. In 2017, ASEAN Summit was held in Manila, Philippines. It stated that the Philippines has more developed protection of migration workers compared to other states. It can be seen that the protection of migrant workers is one of the key pillars of Philippine foreign policy. It consists of protection of their welfare, health, and many more. Next, in ASEAN Summit in Thailand, the President of Philippines was given priority to protection of the migrant worker. According to the Philippine Ambassador to Thailand, Merjo, the President of Philippines present at the 34th ASEAN Summit, which would provide him to chance to follow up the Philippine advocacies when the country chaired the ASEAN Summit in 2017. It showed that the Philippines and Thailand relationship is very close. From that, it can be seen that migrant worker is actually well developed between these countries. Next is social protection. Social protection is important for our welfare. So same goes to the ASEAN, where it enhances the well-being of the people. From that concern, it able to alleviate poverty, increase protection, enhance any disaster, and many more. Therefore, there is one of the organizations such as NGOs that advocate in Philippines, such as Philippine Alliance of Human Rights Advocate. It is for protect human rights from any nation to develop a strong human right development that comply with human right. Right now, Philippines join a meeting with other ASEAN members at a which is known as AICHR, and it's actually happen annually. It is for human right body task with a promote human right and in the region. In the meeting, Philippines emphasized that advocate for the right of the child and also promote human right with other member of state. It can be seen that Philippines is actually active to contribute on the discussion that related to AICHR institutional matters. Last but not least is biodiversity conservation. Philippines is one of the richest countries among the other countries over the world. Biodiversity conservation is important to protect or manage the ASEAN abundant biological diversity in order to increase the social well-being. Through any program or incentive that focus on the significant environment and habitat in protect major ecosystem and also habitat such as create a program to show awareness to look over in protect rainforest area and many more. Other than that, there is an award that received by the people who give a support or help to curb in biodiversity loss in Manila. It is called as ASEAN Biodiversity Heroes Award. It's been received by the community activists who protect the Papua forest.
Assalamualaikum, my name is Adam Haras. I will be presenting for suggestion for this presentation. Our first suggestion for ASEAN socio-cultural community is to promote culture among ASEAN to close social gap among members. Firstly, we highlighted the ASEAN program, which are ASEAN Students Exchange Program and Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative. For ASEAN Students Exchange Program to promote participation, full and sincere commitment in terms of effort, capacity and capability should be required. At this stage, no single person or group of people should be permitted to have a privilege on participation. The different individuals should be given the opportunity to engage in and observe a program in order to ensure that more people of various ethnic and religious backgrounds are involved. Next, for Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative, the age of participants or representatives from member countries should not be limited. Expertise in the subject field will improve the program efficiency. Professionals should be encouraged to participate in the establishment of ASEAN programs and become permanent members. Furthermore, funding and assistance in this area will ensure the program long-term viability, preservation and continuity. Besides, there are still need to exchanging ASEAN information publicly to all member countries. In order to raise awareness, more information about ASEAN's vision and mission should be given to the citizens of ASEAN. Member countries should take the initiative to educate their people about ASEAN, its advantage and their potential prospect in it. Other methods of raising awareness include campaign flyers, newspaper ads or ASEAN columns, television advertisement and user-friendly websites and social sites. Daily ASEAN television programs should be encouraged or formed to promote and sell each other's culture, tourism, cooking and to conclude each season with competition or quiz. This will entice audience to expand their knowledge and want to learn more. Another important initiative would be to expand trade-related training and education between member countries, company entrepreneurs, and civil society. Members can also take advantage of the ASEAN Free Trade Agreement. Furthermore, education curriculum in member countries should include specific ASEAN development, plan topics in civic classes such as for school children and promote role play at school and among schools. Courses on international organization of which our country is a member should be included in the national education curriculum, and knowledge of this organization should be tested to ensure that respondents are aware of their home country's international membership and contribution before traveling abroad. A user-friendly calendar of ASCC or related event in poster sizes or rendered into poster should also be widely distributed throughout the country. The member country's point of contact can perform more frequent awareness events such as quizzes on an annual or quarterly basis. Furthermore, the general public should be notified of who the point of contact is and where they can approach them. Thank you.
ASEAN socio-cultural community is one of the forms of unification that exists in the Southeast Asian region. This community has a focus on unifying the development of the ASEAN region in terms of social and cultural, such as the scope of social problems, poverty, environment, education, culture, health, young, women, children, workers, and so on. The ASCC has 5 basic objectives, namely human development, social well-being, social justice, the formation of a better environment, and the formation of countries in Southeast ASEAN into one identity, namely ASEAN. The ASCC is very important to opening a world of opportunity to collectively deliver and fully realize human development, resilience and sustainable development through member states cooperation.